What's up, guys? Nolan here. We got our first real update coming out for Broken Arrow. They posted on Steam today. Well, Slytherin did, so that's when you listen to them say when they talk to the devs. This isn't from the devs. This is from Slytherin, the publishers of Broken Arrow. They are addressing, or they are what's the word here? They are recognizing the biggest issues in the game, or at least they're recognizing these large issues in the game with lack of the save game feature in the single player. Problem with people leaving mid-game, which is also coincidentally because of issues with connectivity and stability, which is also the other thing there. And we also got a cheating problem. It's 2025. People cheat. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, I guess. Well, we're on it, but you know what I mean. What's going to be coming with the update? We sat down with the developers to discuss what is coming next for Broken Arrow. The next patch is going to be 1.08, and it's going to be a big one. Compared to the immediate hotfixes on launch week, this update will be larger and will need more thorough testing. So we're currently targeting the week of 7th of July for its release. That is next week. That is not this week. It is Monday right now. That is next week. First off, improvements to stability both offline and online, fix to the most significant problems related to memory consumption, reconnect fixes and improvements, update to the anti-cheat system. Yeah, just good luck with that. We'll see what's going on with that. A lot of people are cheating, so I don't think we need to go too deep into it. If it gets absolutely fucking bonkers, then we'll address it, but otherwise, it is what it is. Not everybody is cheating, though, guys. Keep that in mind. We don't want any, cry wolf situations here on this stuff. There's people cheating, but it's not everybody. And also, it's going to help you out on your end. If you don't just assume everybody is cheating every time they're able to shoot one of your units, maybe look around for some reconnaissance first, or maybe put a plane up to see if they have a sentinel up if you're playing against the U.S. Perhaps. Let's do that. I'm seeing a lot of people in chat mid-game accusing people of cheating when they are not. Anywho, very interesting here. The possibility to choose between a small or large layout for the maps has been added for custom matches and skirmish for players looking for smaller matches than 5v5. The game will automatically select the layout corresponding to the number of players plus AI, but you can also force one layout or the other. This is significant. For those that don't know, I am creating a scenario that is 3v3. Turns out I should probably wait on that. I've put a lot of work into it, and although I took the weekend off, which we'll address here in a minute, I've put a lot of work into it. I've been messing around with the spawns, messing around with the size of the maps, some balance changes potentially with some of that stuff, but it's iffy. It depends on what deck you chose and does it just despawn the unit and things like that. So potentially no balance changes, but a 3v3 mode. Again, more on that later, as it seems like the devs are going to do it themselves. It seems like there's some stuff popping up for that. So if you guys are struggling with your solo queue, if you perhaps only have a couple of friends that you play Broken Arrow with, which I know many people do, the 5v5 is a bit rough, especially if you get those couple of players that like to feed 10,000, 11,000 plus units because they don't actually know what they're doing. So, yeah. Interesting. The tower defense mode that was present during the beta is back and has been improved. A lot of people asked about that, so that is back. I also have a friend who's working on a tower defense mode through the scenario editor. For those who don't know, that scenario editor is significant. You can create entire other games within the scenario editor. So if you guys are creative in terms of, modifying things, creating your own missions, stuff like that, go take a look at the scenario editor. It's pretty cool. What is coming after that? We will continue our work on fixing major issues and overall improvements of the game client, as well as server-side software. We're going to address the issue of the lack of a penalty for players who are leaving during a multiplayer match. A lot of people are leaving. However, notice how close it is to one of the other issues, which is connectivity and stability. I have crashed several times. My PC has crashed. In fact, it happened. My PC crashed this morning when I was working on a scenario. It happens. People leave. People disconnect. People get bugs where you're not able to call in any units or see any of the objectives. There's stuff like that going on. So not everybody just leaves. However, there's totally people leaving, so it's something to watch out for. It's one of the major issues. So they are going to introduce a timeout system for those people that are doing that. Additionally, well, in their own words here, furthermore, we're planning on introducing a surrender option. Finally. The way that this game works, for those that don't understand, is the way that the devs have decided. They have actually decided to balance the game, is that there are hard counters deck to deck, spec to spec. It is based off of a group of 3. So what is the balance of 3 any given decks against another 3 any given decks? Now, what has always been possible is random people deciding to choose the decks that don't work together. It happens all the time. And it's happened in every test, and the devs didn't want to add a surrender option. Thankfully, they're finally adding one, because when you are playing as a competent team against another competent team, and especially, actually, if you're in a solo queue, and if you're playing with random people that you aren't in a Discord call with or coordinating with, the chances of you running into a team that is in a Discord that have coordinated what decks to play is, especially at the higher elos, significant. The higher matchmaking, which is another topic we're going to get to here in a minute, it's significant. The amount of times that you literally are not equipped to be able to fight against the team that is doing what they're doing is significant. And not only that, but there's even counters and there's setups within the decks that aren't normally counters to each other. For instance, what if somebody just decides to completely tank their vehicle tab or their support tab or their air tab for a particular type of vehicle, for a particular type of support, for a particular type of plane? There's very, very little, if anything, that you can do as a team that doesn't know that's exactly what's coming to be able to do something against that. It is rock, paper, scissors, you're rock, they brought paper situation. If you're able to realize that, then you have to, and you don't want to waste your time, then and there's a fucking penalty because you leave at some point. If they're going to introduce that, then they're adding a surrender option, which is fantastic. I'm very glad that they decided to add that along with the timeout system for people that are leaving. Because if you want to leave, if you know that you're outgunned, you can just surrender. And if your team doesn't agree, well, find something to do for the rest of the 45 minutes. We're not going to stop our fight with cheaters, and we'll continue working on improvements for our anti-cheat. It's not going to work. They can do all they want. People are going to find ways to get through. Every lock has a key, and if it has a key, it is a way to break into that bitch. As we found out with any of these games these days. If you cheat, fuck you. And it's not going to go away. So, as for save games, we know it's a highly requested feature. That's for the campaign and for the single player stuff, and that's for people that are struggling to be able to learn how to play the game and, you know, be able to do the single player stuff. Because for, you know, I'm sure for most of us that are, you know, veterans of these games, it would take like maybe 45 minutes, which 45 minutes is a long time. I get it. You can pause it and you can come back if you want, but the ability to not save that is very weird. Bit of an oversight on their end, of course. And they're going to add that in there. So, yeah. While it's no secret that we're planning on expanding the game with new factions and new DLCs, they're not going to tell us. Quote-unquote spoilers. They're not going to tell us yet. So we'll see what's going on with that. Who knows if they're close? Who knows if they're far? We got no kind of ETA or expectation of when to expect that stuff. It took them 5 years to make this game, and the last 2 of which it was in a playable state. So we'll see how long it takes them to add those new specs and add those new factions and all that new stuff. Potentially, if they are not adding new weapon systems or types or things like that, shouldn't be that difficult, I would imagine. It's the artwork side of things, so maybe we don't have to wait too long. We'll see what's going on with that. So that is the update that they're going to be pushing next week. Some good stuff in terms of connectivity and things like that. However, we have another issue that was not addressed here, and it's the community. So Vulcan HD Gaming put up a video a few weeks ago mentioning that if this community turns out the same way that Wargame did, for anyone that played Wargame, it's going to end up the same. It's going to end up going the same route that Wargame did, and that's in terms of toxicity and the way that people treat new players and things like that. Now, when I talk the way that I talk, it is for a reason. That should be very... Sorry for that. Apparent to everybody. I need a little bit of slack here. Also, on that note, you know, if I need to fucking address this stuff, who knows? If I got to put my own video up or whatever. TLDR here. Grew up playing competitive hockey. The whole plan was, you know, play competitive hockey, do competitive hockey, coach, eat, sleep, go to the rink, skate, a little bit of school here and there. You know, get a snack, go to the rink, skate, coach. That whole mentality with competitive sports, anybody that's done competitive sports, and I understand with the clientele of these games, potentially not a lot of people have, that environment is very, fuck you, listen to this, go do that, shut the fuck up, do this. competitive sports stuff that's the way that you talk. And I was brought up in that environment along with having my own issues. So the reason why it failed is also because of concussions, head injuries, constant issues with my head, and getting hit in the head. That has led to a kind of deteriorated state on top of some other stuff going on as well with blood pressure and other things. So there's a difference between sounding like an asshole and actually being an asshole. What you guys are doing when you're going into a random queue and into a game and deciding to go into the text chat and be an asshole to people and to be toxic to people in text form, which takes time to type that out, it is not the same. It's not the same. As I have gotten up to the elo that I've gotten to, which this is actually out of date. This is a few days back, and this is also, I took a few days off, which I'll get to in a minute. I'm now 1200 elo, and that puts me into that matchmaking for that elo. However, as I've been explaining on Steam, and thankfully, thanks to BA Hub, which I didn't know that this exists, but now I do, they actually have a proper scale. They actually have a proper rating of players' effectiveness in games that actually tracks what you do in games that matter. Not just did you win, did you lose, but what actually matters. And I actually went down. I was 90% last night, so there's a couple of screenshots I might have posted over on YouTube that said 90%, and I was like 3.8 or something like that. So we're gonna have to work on that. However, what this doesn't do, actually, so this is still outweighted here, and I've talked to the people that are working on this. What it doesn't do is it doesn't realize yet whether or not you have been playing solo or you've been consistently playing with the same players. So eventually when they add that and you're going to be able to go see leaderboards, you're going to see who are the people that they play with the most and like correlate that. So if every single game that somebody's played is with the same other 4 people, that's a team stack, that's coordinating, that's much different than somebody like myself who has been playing with at least 2, if not 3 new players. Most of the time, literally brand new players, first game, second game, third game, fourth game, first day, second day, third day, playing the game entirely, or going into a solo queue where you're not able to communicate with your teammates with voice because they did not add a voice chat in this game. It's very different. So those of you guys that are looking at elo in the game, that is not me. That is the amount of games that I've won, which is based off of the teams that I am with. That is not who I actually am. I'm, give or take, in the top 10% of the players in the world in terms of understanding, in terms of actually being able to contribute, actually being able to play the game and being effective at the game, being good at the game. So, shut the fuck up. This is BA Hub. I'll link it in the description if you guys want to go check that out. And stop being toxic to people in text chat. So that we have people to play with in a year. Otherwise, the multiplayer is going to die the same way that Wargame did. And I got some other videos. I've got some other stuff to show off. Thanks to stuff like BA Hub here. That's going to push that. Coincidentally, also, there is a tournament going on. The very first tournament of Broken Arrow is happening. Where a lot of people that think that they are good at this game and that their friends are good at this game enough to think that they can go into a tournament and play against other people that think that they're good at this game are finding out they don't know how the fucking game works. So there is an evolution that needs to happen with the game where a lot of people are not understanding how it works, what does what works when, what you need to do to combat, to counter, things like that. So that is why I have gotten my head out of my ass and into the scenario editor to create a tutorial. But not just a tutorial, but the tutorial. This one that you're looking at in particular is almost done. This is mechanized warfare. And I mean mechanized warfare. I mean every single aspect of every single unit, of every single weapon, of every single concept, every single thing involved with mechanized warfare in this game is detailed specifically and perfectly, not to just the way that I play the game, although of course I tell you guys the way that I use these units, but just in the game in general, so that you guys can come up with your own strategies, your own metas, your own ideas, because I'm just one person. I'm not always right about everything. But if the information isn't out there and the understanding isn't out there, then it doesn't leave room for others to be better, to be smarter, and to come up with new ideas. So this is, I think, 45 minutes long, something like that, or it'll eventually end up being 45 minutes long. It's going to take some more time. But I was able to finally get this together. That's Mechanized Warfare. Literally in its entirety. Every single thing that you need to bring with you, every single thing that you need to understand when you're using vehicles and when you are trying to take objectives in the game, which is vital to success in the game. What's also vital is your understanding of air power, your understanding of artillery, and your understanding of SAM systems. That's going to be a different video. So this is Mechanized Warfare. There's going to be a second one that is understanding SAM systems. There's going to be a third that is understanding artillery. Potentially artillery and SAMs are going to be in the same because artillery is a direct counter to SAMs, and you need to pay attention to where the enemy artillery is or could be when you're using your SAMs. So that might be included in the same one. So we'll see what happens there. But then there's another one for air power, which I haven't even started to record yet. But that is coming. Full detailed tutorials, bit by bit, in the scenario editor with the exact things and the exact units and the exact position and the exact situation that you would need to ideally be able to understand and learn those situations and learn that concept. So, working on that right now. While you guys are watching this video, I'll be live on Twitch, and I will be manipulating that. I'll be editing it. I'll be working on it so that you guys can come by and talk, because I had a bit of a weekend off there. Some of you might not know I have a Star Citizen org. That's something I've been working on in the background as well. And we've been doing it for years. I do have a Star Citizen channel, Star Citizen Discord, all that stuff. If you guys are interested and you'd like to join, that's around. I link it and I plug it at the end of each one of these videos on this channel as well. So do feel free to come over there. But anyway, we had a longtime friend who was a foundation to that org. Probably thousands of hours playing online with this guy, who decided to take their own life last week. So I decided that I was going to spend time offline with the Star Citizen family, hang out with them all weekend, did some stuff, you know, of course, some like memorial stuff, hanging out, remembrance stuff, all that kind of stuff, as some of you might do with your online friends when something like this happens. So took the weekend off there to do that with them, but it wasn't completely idle. I've been working on this. I've been setting up the scenarios, which you'll see more of. But I did want to mention that's why I've been away, and I also wanted to say, don't feel like you're completely alone, guys. We play these games indoors a lot. We don't have, you know, physical or genuinely just in-person interactions with these people that we call friends and family over the years that we play these games with. So don't feel like you can't talk to somebody, and also don't feel like you're alone. It's a screen that we're looking at, but there's another person on there. So find somebody to talk to if you're failing to find somebody to talk to. I have my Discord. I have my Star Citizen Discord. Shameless plug that you guys can come join if you would like. But there's also, if you don't like me for some reason, there's the Broken Arrow Discord. Do everything that you can to find somebody to talk to if you feel like you need somebody to talk to. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an expert on this stuff. But what I do know is that is not the way to do things. Talk to somebody. If you, again, potentially if you dislike me, jump into my chat. Just jump into my stream chat. Call me an idiot. Disagree with me. Say the way that I play my tanks is stupid. The way that I play the game is stupid or whatever. Do something. Talk to somebody. Because potentially it seems like what Sanguine didn't know is that although we're all online and, we're behind the screen or whatever, there's a lot of people that, love him and miss him. And it's going to be a complete void in that entire hundreds strong group of players that is never going to be filled back in. There's people out there that think that way of you. Whether you think so or not, that's true. So just talk to somebody, guys. That is not the way to approach things. So you need to address that. And that's why I've been gone. I'm live right now. If you guys want to come by, if you guys want to see what I'm doing with the scenarios, what I'm doing with the tutorials, things like that. And of course, we will get some games in to see if I can't bring this up. And again, this is linked in the description if you guys want to go and see how you stack up against me or others in the world. Again, it is a few days late, and I hadn't played many games after that day. No, actually, that might be... Well, obviously, I played yesterday, too, so it's somewhat up to date, but it's a couple days late, for sure. So go check that out. Elo doesn't matter. Stop talking about Elo in-game. It means nothing other than the amount of games that you've won. And chances are, for almost everybody, you did not win that game. You did not leave a tank on those points. You didn't kill everybody on the other team. Your team did. It's the team's score. It's not a player's score. This actually represents what a player does, and they're going to be changing up this stuff, and they're going to be adding to it, so it's pretty cool. Thank you guys for being here. Come by stream, click all the buttons on the screen to support what I do, or come by stream. Love you guys. Thank you for being here, and hope you have a nice day. See you guys.